Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Coping. In our last episode, we explored managers, which is actually one type of protector in internal family systems theory. Today we're learning about another protector in IFS called the firefighters.
That's right. And even with the best efforts of our managers, the part that tries to keep our exiles safe, the world has a way of triggering those deep wounds inside of us. And when that happens, it can really feel like a major emergency.
So, according to IFS, our personality system has parts specifically designed to respond in these moments of emotional crisis. We call these parts firefighters. Here's a quote from Richard Schwartz about firefighters. Firefighters are another class of protectors entirely. Despite how hard our managers work to prevent it, the world has a way of triggering our exiles at times, of breaking through what psychotherapy traditionally calls our defenses. When that happens, it's a big emergency. To many of your protectors, experiencing the pain of your exiles feels like you might die. Consequently, most of us have a set of parts whose job it is to deal with these emergencies. Parts who will immediately go into action to put out that inner fire, the flames of emotion bursting out from the exiled place.
Yeah, such a helpful quote that he's explaining here. I'll try to simplify it just a little bit further. So while managers try to prevent our exiles from being triggered, firefighters jump in when those exiles do get triggered. So basically, their job is to put out the flames of intense emotion as quickly as possible. That's why we call them firefighters.
Yes, and here's the tricky part. Firefighters don't really care about the collateral damage that they cause. They're not concerned about relationships, physical health, or your long-term well-being. Their sole focus is getting away from the feelings that feel unbearable in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why many of us find ourselves indulging in practices that are urges that happen, like overeating after a breakup, or throwing yourself into work, or not taking a break when somebody in your life is ill or has passed, or even going out and partying when you have responsibilities at home. These types of behaviors might look and seem extreme, but this is exactly what the firefighter is trained to do, to protect you from unbearable emotional pain.
Yes, and firefighters can use all kinds of strategies to distract, numb, or soothe. Some are subtle, like overworking, overachieving, or excessive planning. I like to say that it's often an ing word that the firefighters are using. Can you relate?
Yeah, you describe it as an ing action, something that you do to distract you or to numb your pain. For me, it's often the overworking part, throwing myself into tasks that I can complete and feel like I have a sense of control, distracting me from some of the deeper emotional pain, and numbing through feeling accomplished and productive. But I work myself so much that I often ignore the symptoms that are happening in my body, ignore the symptoms that are happening in my spirit and in my heart. What about for you? How does this show up for you?
Yeah, I think it's the same. We are similar on the Enneagram of having part of us that's working. I think it's the nonstop going ing, pushing, not pausing, that would cause the firefighters to keep going on and on without a break in sight. So for me, that not being able to push the pause button and not actually take stock or assessment of what's happening, but to just go on to the next and the next and the next.
Yeah, and we're talking about some pretty destructive behaviors, perhaps like not listening to your body or not stopping when you need to, or overeating, partying too much. answer the question that may be lingering in some of our minds. Is the firefighter part of us bad?
As you know, as we go back to the first rule in internal family systems theory, is that there are no bad parts. So the key to remember is this, that firefighters are not bad. They are loyal, desperate protectors doing the only thing they know how to do: shield us from the intensity of the pain of the exiles.
Totally. And so what we learn through IFS then is that we are invited to notice our firefighter selves and to see them without judgment. We don't need to blame them or even fight against them. This is the way that we can begin to understand their motivations and then hopefully over time help them find a healthier way to support us.
Yes, exactly. But at the same time as we're recognizing the role, we need to know that sometimes the firefighters resort to desperate measures. And they, remember, we said they have little regard for collateral damage. So, especially if we're looking into our lives or even the lives of those closest to us, when we do not understand why behaviors occur, we can see that the job of the firefighter is to get you away from those feelings right now or else. Even thoughts of self-harm are sometimes the option for the firefighter. If you think about in extreme measures, and then they're in charge of all the firefighting activities, anything that's going to block your pain, they are going to use.
One of the things that's coming up for me as we're talking about some of these really extreme measures that the firefighter takes is the phrase that my IFS therapist often says to me. He says, "I appreciate this part of you." It is such an important phrase for me because when I share with him about some of the difficult parts of myself or some of the extreme ways I've resorted to coping, he looks me in the eye and says, "I appreciate this part of you, Kevin." And that compassionate approach to the parts of myself are helping me reframe and see in a different light why the parts of myself are reacting in this way. It's to help me cope and to help me respond to really intense emotions and experiences that I have. And so if you're listening today and you find that you've resorted to these types of coping, I say to you, I appreciate this part of you.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. So today's takeaway, when you notice a sudden urge to distract, numb, or act out, it might be a firefighter that's stepping in. And instead of shaming that part of yourself or beating that part of yourself up, see it as a protector, a loyal protector, and one that wants your feelings to be safe. It might be a firefighter stepping in. Instead of shaming that part of yourself, see it as a loyal protector, one that wants your feelings to be safe. And instead of putting yourself down, that part of yourself, you could actually say out loud, I appreciate this part of myself. You could recognize what feelings they're trying to extinguish and acknowledge that instead of allowing your firefighter instinct to kick in.
Yeah, such an important practice to learn and to adopt that type of self-compassion, appreciating all the parts of yourself. And so to close our time together today, I'd like to walk us through a meditation adapted from Dr. Richard Schwartz. We're calling this the glass wall meditation. Start by thinking of a situation in your life that triggers strong emotions: anger, sadness, or frustration. Imagine that situation displayed safely on the other side of a glass wall, much like a police viewing room or behind a glass in a museum. You are on the outside, observing without stepping in. Notice what happens in your body and mind as your protective part reacts. What do you feel as you observe that stressful situation? What's happening in your muscles, with your heartbeat, your breath? What physiological changes are occurring? As you become aware of these parts of yourself, offer some gentle reassurance to your protector, the firefighter inside of you, that you are safe and not going into the room right now. Notice if it can release some of its energy. Notice how your body shifts if it does. Look again at the situation behind the glass. Does it appear different from this safe distance? Now, turn your attention to your protector, the firefighter standing beside you. Curiously ask why it feels the need to act so strongly. Appreciate it for the work they are doing to keep you safe, and ask what they might do if those vulnerable parts were less at risk. Imagine how you might respond to the situation by a more calm, centered self. Thank your protector for the work that they do. And now, take a few deep breaths, breathing in and exhale. One more breath, breathing in and exhale. And now bring your focus back to the present moment. May you go forward with this renewed sense of peace.